Honestly, it's just that one mindset shift that helped me learn 4 languages, so trust me, it works. Hi, my name is Sara. I'm a junior architect living and working in Poland. If you've clicked on this video, you either love learning languages, or you're trying to learn languages, or you're just interested in the topic in general. And let me tell you, every person's journey is different with learning a language. Some people find it easy, some people just need more work and time to put into it. And by now, you already know that you have to practice grammar, that you have to learn the vocab. But I think genuinely that these 4 things changed the way I learn languages. I grew up in Poland, so obviously I knew Polish. My mom is an English teacher, so she taught me English. During my time in school, I learned German. That brought me to a C1 level, and I passed my SFI exam. And then after moving to Sweden, I learned Swedish. But during my time, I also learned a little bit of Spanish and had 1 whole month of Russian. There's a lot of techniques to learn languages, and there's no one solution to just instantly know everything. And disclaimer, not everything works for everyone, but these 4 things I think are super important. I think first and foremost, number 1 is find your why. Okay, and I know that this is not specific to language learning, and this is in general. Finding your why and purpose of doing something will change the way you absorb knowledge and your whole mindset and how open you are to absorbing information. And what I mean by this is that when I was in school and I was learning German and I was going to all these language classes and studying so hard, the reason I was doing it because in my mind I had the option of maybe studying in Germany. And that really kept me going because I knew that I'll need the language to communicate with people, to just do my daily tasks, that will make my life easier if I know the language. I also took part in a lot of different trips, in a lot of different exchanges in Germany, and so knowing the culture as well was fueling my interest. So my why became, I want to study in Germany and I want to know about Germany as a place, a history, and a culture. Then when I moved to Sweden and I was learning Swedish from scratch, and I was learning that starting at the age of 23, I decided that I want to learn Swedish. Again, setting my intention straight, which was I want to be able to communicate with my Swedish friends in their native language, as well as the prospect of possibly working in Sweden in Swedish. Again, that fueled all those classes, fueled all of my missions to complete homework, learning words, practicing grammar, all of the things that sometimes are super hard in a language. I found the motivation to do it thanks to actually having my purpose and my why. Of course, in Polish, that doesn't apply because it was my native tongue, and so I wasn't really thinking, I was just communicating with people and just going about my life. And with English, I kind of had a cheat code, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not hiding it from you. I had an English teacher at home, and so my why was literally, I want to talk to my mom. So that was how I learned English. But don't get me wrong, I still had to learn the grammar. So I also had a fair share of classes as well. Now, as to the other languages, I think that's what failed me. That's how I failed at learning Spanish, at learning Russian, because I didn't find my reason. I just signed up for the classes, and then because I didn't really have a purpose, I didn't really have like a goal in mind, I didn't have anything to really narrow down on, it kind of fizzled away. And now this is my in-person reaction to this, because it's a reflection of mine that you really need a purpose and a reason why you're learning that language, and that will actually help you get to the level that you want. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I started learning German, I didn't like it. I remember my parents were so kind and they wanted to help me learn the language since it was an option to do it in school and it was a course that was offered, and then they wanted to assist me with this. So they signed me up for extra classes. Super perfect situation to be in, right? You're getting extra support. I remember I went to that one class with a teacher and it was not her fault, but I came back home and I was like, I don't want to learn this language. But the thing is, I didn't like it because I wasn't good at it. If you're anything like me, I am not maybe a perfectionist, but I like to be good at things. When I do something, I want to excel. I want to feel the progress. And learning a language is not like this. It takes time. It takes hours. And so you might want to think about it. Are you procrastinating doing the work because you just feel like you're not there yet? Are you maybe skipping classes because you're like, oh, it's not going to change anything? You might want to think about that twice, because you kind of have to humble yourself. You have to be bad at the start to eventually become a pro. Everyone from Olympians to researchers to CEOs, they had to suck at their job at the start to get to where they are today. Now, you won't like to hear this because I don't like to hear this, but the solution to that is putting in the hours. As I said, learning a language is not something like this. And if you're watching this video, you know, you know it's not easy. It's not easy. But the thing is, once you put those, what people say, like 10,000 hours, right? I wouldn't like keep to a strict like outline of that. However, you have to put in the work. There's no cheat code to that. Speaking of putting in the hours, one thing that I think was incredible, one thing that actually changed the game of how quickly I was learning languages, was being consistent. Trying to put in as much of the language you're learning into your daily life as often as possible. Because if you're doing little steps by little, your brain will start working on that even when you sleep. And so you really will strengthen that muscle. Because languages are like muscles, you have to practice them to make them stronger and for them to last. Because let me tell you, even though I passed my C1 exam in German, am I fluent now on that same level? No, because I haven't been practicing. I haven't been putting in the same amount of time as I used to into that language, and I haven't been actively using it. So you have to remember, if you want to be fluent in a language and learn languages, the best way to do it is to be consistent. And maybe that's daily exercises, maybe that's just watching a movie or listening to a podcast every day. Those little things will make all the difference. And on that same note, the one that I find really hard is getting used to being wrong. Because there's no way to be a linguistic genius on your first class. There's no way of being a linguistic genius fluent in the language after 2 weeks. I mean, at least that's from my experience. There is no way that I can learn a language in under a month. We have to be okay with being bad, okay? With making mistakes, with not knowing words, with making grammar mistakes. But the thing is, the way that you will learn is actually by making those mistakes, by practicing and saying those sentences that are wrong or things that just don't make sense. The most important part, however, is actually that you get those things corrected. If you have any opportunity to get a teacher, to get someone that already knows the language, then maybe there's a forum online that you can speak on in that language, do it. And even if you make mistakes, that's fine. That is part of the process, and it's really hard. I hate it. Personally, I hate that part, because there's nothing worse than literally making mistake after mistake and just knowing that you're wrong, but you're trying to communicate something. But that's the way you progress. So we have to be brave. Like, I am keeping my fingers crossed for you, but just be brave and just speak up. That is my last point. Speak up. It is the hardest thing, getting over that block. To speak with someone from that country that has that language, and knowing that you're not fluent, that you cannot really express everything that you want to say, because it takes courage. But again, when you have the opportunity to actually interact with someone that knows the language inside and out, that is the best way. Because I haven't seen better progress in my language learning than when I actually had conversations on the daily with people around me and people online using that language. Because then your brain starts building that algorithm of how to use words, how to use grammar, and it then embeds in your brain how to use them in the future. Those were the 4 most important things when it comes to learning a language. I would love to hear what your suggestions are because every language is different. So every language has their nuance of how to learn it best. But for now, these are my tips of how to change your mindset to learn any language. These you can apply to literally Japanese, English, German, Swedish, anything. So thank you so much to Lena who suggested this video. I really enjoyed making it, and honestly, if you have any other suggestions, please let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!